set her like a dry land and slay her with thirst. A reflection on Hosea 2, verse 3. As I was reading Hosea 2, 3, that phrase hit me hard. Lest I strip her naked and set her as in the day she was born, and make her as a wilderness, and set her like a dry land, and slay her with thirst. The part that gripped me most was set her like a dry land and slay her with thirst. That line, it felt like more than just ancient prophecy. It felt like a mirror of what happens to us when we walk away from God. I couldn't help but think of Adam and Eve. Before the fall, they were in Eden, God's garden, a paradise, a land full of rivers, 4 rivers flowing with life: Pison, Gihon, Hiddekel, and Euphrates. There were trees, vegetation, fruit. They were well watered, provided for, surrounded by beauty. And most importantly, they lived in the presence of God. But when they disobeyed, when they turned from Him, they were cast out of Eden and sent into the wilderness. And isn't that exactly what Hosea is describing? A stripping, a return to barrenness, a removal from abundance into dryness, a transition from the garden into the wilderness. Set her like a dry land and slay her with thirst. That's what happened to Adam and Eve. They chose disobedience, and their rebellion exiled them from the place of presence, from light into darkness, from communion into separation, from water into thirst. Because here's the thing, God is light, and in Him is no darkness at all. 1 John 1:5. If we walk in darkness, we can't say we're walking with Him. That's what happened in the garden. Adam and Eve chose darkness, and that choice disqualified them from fellowship. They couldn't walk with Him in that state. So they were driven out, and they were naked. And isn't that what Hosea says? Strip her naked. They realized their shame. They covered themselves. They hid. The connection was broken. They were like dry land now, no longer watered by the rivers of Eden, but left to survive in a hard, cursed world. Thorns, sweat, labor, death. From dust you are, and to dust you shall return. A return to the day they were born. A reversal of blessing. Wilderness, dryness, chaos. That's what it means spiritually when we step away from God. A wilderness isn't just empty, it's disordered. Growth happens, but it's wild, thorny, mixed with weeds. The soil is hard. The sun beats down. There's no system, no nourishment, no life source. It's like a life where some things grow, maybe talent, maybe success, but it's jumbled with noxious weeds, bitterness, pride, lust, confusion. That's what spiritual wilderness looks like. And the thirst, that slaying thirst, It's what we feel when we've disconnected from our source. Whether we realize it or not, we're always thirsty without Him. We can try to ignore it. We can try to numb it. We can even fool ourselves into thinking we're fine. But deep down, the Spirit God placed in us is still longing for its Creator. And nothing else can satisfy that ache. That's why people binge, strive, overwork, obsess careers, relationships, food, entertainment, sex, politics. It's all an attempt to fill that deep, unsatisfied thirst. A thirst that isn't quenched by more of the world. We try to fill that void, but it never stays full. There's always a leak, always a longing. It's exactly what Jesus said to the woman at the well in John 4. Whoever drinks of this water will thirst again. But whoever drinks of the water that I shall give him will never thirst. We are thirsty people, even when we pretend not to be. And sometimes God allows us to feel that thirst. Sometimes He sets us like a dry land and allows the spiritual thirst to rise, not to punish, but to draw us back, because it's thirst that leads us to seek, hunger that leads us to knock, lack that causes us to cry out. Revelation 22:17 says, "Let the one who is thirsty come." That's the invitation. That thirst you feel, that ache, that longing, it's not random. It's not meaningless. It's a call. And if you're willing to feel it, not numb it, not ignore it, it'll lead you back to Him. He's the only well that satisfies. So when Hosea says, "Set her like a dry land and slay her with thirst," it's not just judgment, it's mercy, because that thirst is what brings us home.